Hey guys, Burhanmatics here. In this video we are going to talk about limits of accuracy, which consist of upper bound and lower bound. So let's first discuss that what is limits of accuracy. So for suppose there is a block of metal which mass is approximately 10 kg to the nearest kg. So as it is approximated, so we don't know the exact mass of the block. So this range is called limits of accuracy. And in this the maximum is called the upper bound and the minimum is the lower bound. So as I said that it is nearest to 1 kg, so we could go in decimals to the limit that when it's rounded, so it comes back again to the 10 kg. Like for example, 10 kg's lower bound could also be written as 9.5 kg. This will be the lower bound because if we go lesser than that, so it will be then rounded off to 9 kg. Like if I write here 9.4, so then it will be go towards the 9 kg. It will not remain then 10 kg. And the upper bound for this will be lesser than 10.5. If we write 10.5, so it will go for 11, but it has to be lesser than that, like it will be 10.49999 and so on. It will continue. But if I write 10.5, so it will go towards 11, but if I write 10.499999, so it will remain as 10 kg. We could express this is an inequality form. Like for example, this could also be written as that the mass of the block is greater equal to 9.5 kg, but lesser to 10.5. I have not written the equal sign over here for the upper bound. The reason is because the the, the upper bound has to be lower than the 10.5, or then it will be rounded to 11 kg. So if it is the lower could be that 10.5, lesser could be 10.499999. So that could be rounded off to 10 again. But if I also include 10.5 also, so then it will be rounded off to 11 kg. So yeah, that's all we have done for the upper bound and lower bound. Now let's discuss some of the questions that how could we solve them. So guys, now let's discuss this question. The question says that Anil has some sweets with a mass of 600 gram to the nearest correct to the nearest 10 grams, and you have to write down its lower bound. So in order to calculate the lower bound, first we will divide 10 with 2, which is 5. So 5 grams. And now it is saying to lower bound, so we will subtract 5 from the 600. 600 minus 5, which is 595. If the question will say to write down the upper bound of the mass, so we had to plus. Suppose if it is to find upper bound, so we will going to plus, and which will be 605. Now you must be thinking that why we are dividing 10 with 2. So the answer is that if we will directly subtract 10 from 600, so it will come out to be 590, which will not be, then if we round it off, so it will be remain 590, so it will not come to the nearest 10 grams. So that's why we are subtracting 2, so that we get 595. Then if we then 595 is then rounded off, so it will come to the 600 gram. So that's the reason why we are dividing it with 2. So now let's discuss that how could we solve this question. So there is a point A and a point B whose distance is 400 km to the nearest kilometer. If whenever you see that it is nearest kilometer and no number is over here written, so it means that it is 1. And Anil covers the distance in 4 hours to the nearest 0.1 hours by car. Calculate its speeds in upper bound. So first of all, let's divide these two numbers by 2. So 1 divided by 2 is 0.5 for this, and for this we will going to divide 0.1 divided by 2, which is 0.05. So Now let's write down the formula to calculate the speed. So the speed formula is distance upon time. So you must be remembering that the lesser the denominator, the greater the number. Like for example, if we divide 400 by 1, so the answer will be 400. But if we divide 400 by 2, so the answer will be 200. So the lesser the denominator, greater the number. So the time should be lesser as possible. So for time we will be calculating the lower bound, and for the distance we will be calculating the upper bound. So for distance we will going to write that 400 plus 0.5, and for the time we will write 4 minus 0.05, which is equal to 400.5 divided by 3.95. So when you solve this further, so the answer will come out to be 101.39 kilometers per hour. So yeah, that's our speed in the upper bound. If it was asked that calculate the speed in the lower bound, so what we will do that we will take the time greater and the distance lesser. So we will get the lower bound of the speed. So yeah, that's how we could do the questions like this. So here I have prepared a table for you which tells that when we are adding, so what should be the maximum, the upper bound and the lower bound. Like in the previous question we were dividing, so for one numerator we had to be take the greater value, and for the denominator we had to take the lesser value. So by this table you can memorize that at which point at which value we have to take. So for minimum point, that is lower bound, when we have to add the two things, so we'll take the lower bound plus lower bound. And if we have to take the upper bound, so we will take upper bound plus upper bound. For subtraction, as to the calculate the minimum or the lower bound, we will take lower bound minus upper bound. And for the maximum, we will do the opposite, upper bound minus lower bound. Now for the multiplication, it is similar to the addition. In addition, both were same. In this also they will be same. So lower bound multiplied by lower bound and upper bound multiplied by upper bound. And for division, we have already discussed in the last question. So it will be lower bound divided by upper bound and upper bound divided by lower bound. So you could also remember that for addition and multiplication, both the variables will be same, and for subtraction and division, they both will be different. That's all for this video. If you enjoyed the video, so make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.